My name is Chase, and I'm an alcoholic. I really appreciate the introduction, Miss Ruth. That having blushing a little bit, but it's all right. I was just thinking earlier today, like last time I spoke here was the day after Christmas, and today is the day before Easter. So it's kind of one of two things. Like God's definitely I was thinking that it's a reminder that God's a big part of my recovery or everything, and then two, I guess people ask me to do it on those days because a lot of people wouldn't on those days because they got stuff going on, but I don't, so I'm here, y'all. But I guess just to get things started, to qualify, my sobriety date is April 15th, 2019, which is coming up, and I'm a little excited about because it's definitely a miracle. I couldn't string 2 or 3 days together when I was out there. It's almost 2 years, so it's kind of a big deal to me. This is my home group. Keeping It Sober group. I'm not as involved as I used to be, but this is where I got sober and learned how to do service. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm a little bit nervous, but I know once I get started, I'll be all right. So I prayed like 5 times with different people, and I prayed that God will just use me to relay a message, because that's all I'm really here for. But I guess that's pretty much I have a sponsor. My sponsor's got a sponsor. I'm not currently sponsoring any guys, but I do work with other alcoholics every day, so I'm grateful for that opportunity. I guess we'll just get started. So I grew up in a place called Rockingham. I don't know if you guys know about it. If you're familiar with it, just stay away from there if you want to stay sober. But that's where I grew up at. My grandma raised me, so I believe in the genetic predisposition thing, and my mom and dad were both alcoholics, addicts, whatever. It's all the same thing, and my dad, I wasn't really sure what an alcoholic was, but I know that my dad was on the streets, like drinking 40s at King Cobra every day, just not being a dad. And at a young age, I would talk to my grandma and be like, why ain't he here? Why is he saying he's coming and he's not, And she's just like, he's an alcoholic. So I didn't know what it meant, but I knew I didn't ever want to be like that. But what do you know? I'm grateful to be one today. And then my mom, she passed away when I was a little baby. She was one of us, I believe, but I don't believe her disease progressed as far as mine did per se. She had cancer, and she could have gotten chemo when she was pregnant with me, but if she did, then I wouldn't be here today. So I say her disease hasn't progressed as much as mine did because I don't care who it was. Like, I'm putting myself before anybody. That's just what my alcoholism did. So I'm assuming she wasn't that far along. But so growing up, like my grandma raised me, and I had a pretty good childhood. I didn't really have any traumatic events or anything like that. I wasn't rich. I wasn't poor. I had everything I needed, and that was just fine. But I will say, as a kid, I always felt different just because, like, I don't have the traditional family that everybody has. I looked at other people and thought, why do they have a dad to play ball with or whatever, those things. But I believe today that made me who I am today, so I am grateful for that. I always hear one guy in here always say every single thing that happened leading up to right now made me who I am, and I agree with that. But so as a kid, I really wasn't exposed to drugs or alcohol on the front end, like firsthand. It wasn't in the household or anything like that. But I knew my dad wasn't around for that reason. But by me saying I felt different than everyone, I always tried to like fit in. I always didn't want people to know I was different, so I would do whatever I had to do to be part of you guys or whoever I was around, I guess you could say I kind of felt less than because I did, but I don't know. I feel all right with it today because I know my experiences, I can share them with someone else because I'm not the only one with those experiences. But so I will go ahead and say drugs are part of my story. I know it's AA, so I will try not to talk too much about it, but I mean, it's my story. Let's see, as a kid, I like to escape reality. Like I was thinking, you're talking about the escape room. Like I love this escaping reality, so that'd probably be pretty cool. But I know just as a kid, I played sports. I was a little short, fat kid, so I wasn't real good at them, but I played a little bit. But I really liked to play video games. I was a nerdy little kid, and that was when I found out I could escape reality. I could sit and play a video game with my friends, and I'm not focusing on real life. I'm just escaping. And I loved that. That's what I would do. That would be my escape as a child. But let's see. Fast forward a little bit. The first time I ever saw what drugs did, I had an uncle. Well, I still have an uncle, and he was kind of like a father figure to me. We would go hunting, fishing, whatever. He had a nice truck, a nice house, like a nice family, everything I thought I wanted. And he also had something else I developed later in life, and that was a drug addiction. And I know my papa was in the picture when I was a kid, and he passed away when I was 12 years old. And when that happened, my uncle just really didn't know how to take it, and he really went off the deep end as far as like drugs concerned. And when that happened, it was like I still didn't know what that was, but I do know like the thing that I cared the most about, which was video games. He stole those and he pawned them, and we had a bunch of guns, all kind of stuff, and everything was just gone. And I didn't understand why he did that, but I remember crying to my grandma, bless you, and she was just like, I said, why would he do that? He loves me. And she's like, well, he's on drugs, Chase. And I didn't know what it meant either, but I knew I don't want to do drugs. I don't want to do any of that stuff. But I'd probably save a lot of trouble if I kept that same mentality throughout my life, but sadly I did not. So let's see, talking about fitting in, I had a certain close-knit group that I was in this little town in Rockingham called Cordova, and I grew up with the same friends. It's a real small town, so we went from elementary school to junior high to high school together. So I always hung out with these like 5 different, we were all best friends. And I remember when I got in about the end of junior high, everybody was already like drinking and smoking pot, and I was just like, nah, I'm not doing all that. I know what's going to happen if I do that. I'm going to end up like my family. But needless to say, like when I got in high school, I think I was 17 years old. I remember this very vividly, and it's crazy because there's a lot of things that I don't remember like this week. You know, I don't even remember what day it is sometimes. And I remember this time very vividly. I remember just being at these little apartment complexes over by the hospital in Rockingham. I remember there being all my friends there, all my close friends, a bunch of girls, and everybody was just partying. So for whatever reason, this night I decided, you know what, I'm going to try it. And, go back a little bit. I had started smoking Black and Milds. I'm sure some of you guys know what those are. And so I was cool with the whole smoking thing. But this night, for whatever reason, they were smoking weed. And they were like, come on, Chase, hit it and hit it. I'm like, all right, I guess so. So I hit it. And I just remember just feeling pretty good, laughing about everything. But my throat got real dry, like cotton mouth. And this is where the alcoholism took off, I guess. I was like, come on, y'all ain't got nothing to drink. And they were like, no, all we got is beer. And it was Miller Lite, or Natty Light, actually. And I drank one sip, and I was like, man, this is nasty. And they were like, well, just keep on drinking it. It'll taste like water. So that's what I did, and it did taste like water. And I don't know when it happened, but at some point during this night, I started feeling good, like I felt like I could talk to anybody. I didn't have any worries. I didn't feel different than everybody. I just felt great. I felt amazing, better than great. And I felt like I had superpowers or something. Like I could talk to girls. I thought I was funny. Like if somebody wanted to fight, like I was ready for it. Like just whatever. Anything I could normally do, I could do a lot better with combination or with alcohol and weed or whatever. And I know in here, I've learned we have an obsession of the mind. And I remember after that time, like I was young, I was 17 years old, and I remember just being in school and just thinking about, I'm ready for the weekend. I've already got all these things planned out, like who's going to be at the party, what we're going to drink, how we're going to get it. And I just daydream all day in class about that. Like that would be all I could think about. But I would have never thought I'd be an alcoholic. You know, I thought I'm just a high school kid trying to have some fun. And I mean, that went on for a little while. I mean, I heard a lot of people say, like, drinking was never fun. Like, I don't think so. It was fun for me until it wasn't fun anymore, or I wouldn't have kept on doing it. And so I guess I go through high school. I'm doing pretty good in high school. Like, I graduate, not like straight A's or nothing, but like B's and C's, you know, just an average kid. And I just did what we do, just drinking on the weekends, nothing extravagant at that point. And I remember the first time I ever, I guess you'd call it binge drinking. After high school, where I'm from, or I guess where everybody's from in here, they have this thing called Beach Grad. And me and all my friends, we would go up to the beach, Cherry Grove, and we would just party all week long. I see some people shaking their head. So I remember that week, I remember just thinking, like, these people wanted to party all week long. I wasn't sure if I was ready for that, but I'm going to try it. And I remember enjoying it and then being exhausted afterwards, like, nah, I'm not doing that again. And I didn't for a little while. But that was just basically that was one of the fun times. That was when it was good, no real consequences, or not for me. I had some friends getting some trouble up there, but I just felt like they might be doing the same thing as me, but I'm not getting in trouble, so I'm not as bad as them. I was always pretty good at comparing my life to other people, and when other people are doing worse than me, I'm not as bad as them, I'm good. So I guess we'll fast forward a little bit. So I moved out to Texas for a little bit after high school, moved with some family. And for the first time in my life, like I said, I wasn't around alcohol or anything like that, like staying with my grandma, and none of that was going on. But when I moved out here with family, they were all older than me, and they liked to party like I did. So for the first time in my life, like, I could party, I could drink whatever, I could get whatever. It was just sort of like a freedom, you know, just doing what I want. And I didn't know that I was progressing my alcoholism at that point, but that's what I was doing. And I remember these people would drink every single day, like hard liquor, and I would think, I'm not ever going to be like them. Like, they're bad, they're alcoholics, you know. But so that was all right. And I got exposed to some other things, but it wasn't really my cup of tea at that point. Like just some other dry goods, but at that point I was still on the outside looking in. Like, you guys have fun with that, I'm not messing with it. And so I stayed out there maybe two years, something like that, 2-3 years, and I was going to college, and everything was all right. And then I had a little incident. So I usually don't even share this in my story because I don't think about it, but I remember I was 19 years old. I went and played some beer pong with some friends, and I was winning that night, so I felt like I wasn't drinking much. And then I was driving, and I was driving my friend's car. He's like, I'm going to stay over here, and you drive my car home. So it's like 4 miles. All right, cool. I got a little tiny buzz. I'm good to drive. And I'm driving, and I'm probably like half a mile from my house, and I'm driving this Cadillac, and I don't know what I was doing. I just wasn't paying attention, but I went to stop, or there was a stop sign, and I hit the brakes too late, and I got in a wreck and hit this pole. And I didn't get hurt or anything like that, but not long after, the cops pulled up. And I just remember this cop was like, have you been drinking? I'm like, no. And he was like, I can smell it. How much have you drank? And I was like 2 beers. And then he put the cuffs on me. And he told me, this was the first time I ever got in trouble with the law. He told me, well, you're under arrest for driving while intoxicated. And then I'm being a baby. I'm like crying. I'm like, man, this is going to ruin my life. I'm in college. I'm doing good. And he was like, I don't want to hear it. And then he puts these handcuffs on me and walks back to his car. And I'm probably standing there 10 minutes. Just all these things are going through my head. And he comes back. He's like, can anybody pick you up? I'm like, yeah, they're on the way right now. And he took the handcuffs off of me and just sent me on my way. So I'm like, okay. I mean, I still got a ticket for reckless driving causing an accident, but that wasn't anything. And, you know, some people, there's a lot of moments in my life where I think, you know what? Some people would stop drinking because of that. Whoa. But I didn't do that. The light did not cut on. But so that was just like I dodged a bullet. It's all good. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have any consequences. It's all right. It can be dark. I don't care. But so that happens, and it's not a wake-up call or anything like that. I'm just glad what happened. And then a little time goes by, and my family moves from Texas to South Carolina, so I figure I'll just move back with my grandma. And I'm back in Rockingham, which is not a good place in my opinion. Like, I always felt depressed there. I felt like, hey, nobody got nothing going on here. Like, really, I think it was a problem with me, because there are successful people in Rockingham, I guess. But I just, I wasn't trying to be there. And, but my disease was at a manageable point at this point because I knew I had to get a job. I had to pass the drug test. I couldn't be hungover and go to the job interview, all that good stuff. So I was able to do that, and I got a pretty decent job for the city of Rockingham, like benefits, all that good stuff. But in my head, I still thought, if I move, I'll have a better life, that geographical cure. And so what happened was the same friends I was talking about I grew up with, I had one that I was still pretty good friends with. And he was staying up at Western Carolina. And he was like, man, you don't want to live here. Why don't we get an apartment together and you move up here? I'm like, all right. It's up there by Asheville. So I always wanted to go to the mountains and I thought it'd be cool. So I did save up enough money to get a car, get down payment on the apartment, whatever, all the stuff I needed. And I was able to do that. So this is where things really took off. Like, this is where stuff got real. Like, I went from living with my grandma where I've got to put on this lie like I'm not using, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing any of that, to where I can go up to college and it's encouraged, like that's what everybody's doing. So I get up there and things are fun. Like, I'm going to these parties, I'm just doing what I wanted to do, at this point in my life, what I really wanted to do. And I find out when I'm up there, I get into school for business administration, and I found out when I'm up there, I'm going to try to use code words, like I can do what I want to do and make money off of it. So I kind of got into a little entrepreneurship, and I found out that I could basically sell weed, I'm not going to sugarcoat, just sell weed and make money off of it. And that's what I started doing in this. I wanted to feel important. I've always wanted to fit in, all those good things, and I had that right now. At this point in my life, I had a car. I had what I thought a man would want, I got my own place. I got a car. I got money. I got girls, whatever. But at this same point, I got involved in some pharmaceutical research, and I got graduated to different dry goods, and that's when things took a turn for the worse. And I say that, but just know the whole time all this was going on, like, I was drinking. Like, that was just my go-to, like, regardless, I'm going to drink. That's what a good alcoholic like myself does. And so this is when I start having some real consequences. So I'm involved with all these different pharmaceuticals, and I'm just living a crazy life, and I start having consequences like seizures. Like, I started having health consequences, and I started just having these seizures, and I'd go to the hospital and they'd do whatever, where MRI, whatever it is, where they would run scans on my brain to see if I was prone to have seizures, and they'd be like, have you been doing any pharmaceuticals? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, well, you don't need to anymore, you're going to have seizures again. So I still did, and I still had seizures. But it was really scary. Like, at this point in my life, I was doing different things where I would black out. Like, that was just, I didn't mention this earlier, but until I came in here, I didn't know that average people don't black out. Like, I thought that was part of drinking. Since the beginning, like, I have been drinking until I black out. Like, I don't know, I just have a all gas, no brakes mentality, and that's what I do. And anyway, things start getting bad. I'm not going to go into the details, but I will say I lost everything at that point. I lost my car. Well, I totaled my car because of the seizures. Got dropped from school. I didn't drop out, but if you don't go to classes, they frown upon that and drop you. So they kind of made the decision for me. I had a decent little job. I lost that. Just everything. Needless to say, I had to move back home to Rockingham with my grandma. So when I'm back home with my grandma, like, I didn't talk much about her as much as I should earlier, but my grandma was everything for me. She was basically a mom, a dad to me, like everything. That was my best friend, and she was always there for me. And growing up, she never had any health problems or anything like that. She was just there, And when I moved back home with my grandma, she did have health problems. She had congestive heart failure and COPD, and I didn't realize that at the time, but that's a terminal illness. Like, there's not you're done. Once that happens, like, you're on the way out, and I didn't know that, but I remember just thinking how bad I should be here for my grandma. Like, I need to be here for my grandma. She might not be here much longer, but I also have this disease in my head that says you got to get right. You got to do what you have to do to be able to function, So I was just at a point where, looking back, I wish I could have been present for her, but my disease progressed to where I can't. Like, I'm not just thinking about drinking. Once I'm drinking, I'm thinking about the next drink or the next substance or whatever. Like, I can't even enjoy anything anymore because it's like there's no enjoyment in it. It's just it went basically from a hobby to a habit to an addiction to survival. And I was at survival mode. Like, I had to do what I had to do to be able to function. And so that goes on for a little bit. And now I'm just at that point where anything goes. Like, there's not really any line that I drew. Like, I'm not going to cross this line. Like, people say they jumped over that line. Like, I sniffed that line and it was gone. And so just eventually my grandma passes away and I'm just feeling real depressed, and I never really needed a reason to drink and use substances, but in my head I had one now. Like, no matter what, like, I didn't want to feel good. I wanted to not feel nothing, just numb and blacking out and just not present from anything. So that went on a few, like 2 or 3 years, and so at this point, like, my grandma, she was the best grandma she could be, and I know she didn't directly do it, but she enabled me. Anytime I say I need something, my grandma got me, give me money to go do what I needed to do. And she wasn't there anymore, so things got hard for me. Like, my family, they had been turned their back a long time ago, and it wasn't because they're bad people, it's because they'd have got hurt. If they'd have stuck with me, like, they'd have got hurt. I'd have used them just like I did everyone else, get what I needed, and then they would be hurt in some way. So they did preventive measures, I guess. And luckily today that family wants stuff to do with me, which is a miracle in itself. But so after that happened, like, there's a lot of heartbreak. I ended up being homeless, like all kind of things. But I felt like there was no hope. I felt like I was just going to die a drug addict, and I felt like that's what I deserved. But so I'll skip to my favorite part because I feel like this is where my recovery really starts. So I was always thinking that I had this thing under control, that I can hide this, no one knows what's going on, I'm slick or something. But needless to say, I don't believe anyone else thought that. Way before I knew I was an alcoholic, people used to say, Chase, you're an alcoholic. And I'd be like, nah, I don't even drink as often as you do. And they'd be like, no, but when you drink, you drink. I'm like, I get it now. But so I go from staying with people to, hey Robin, how you doing? So I go from staying with people to being homeless to staying with people to being homeless. And eventually I do what any smart man like myself would do, and that's get a sugar mama. So I met this woman, and I could just tell her what she wanted to hear, and then I could use her, for lack of a better word. And that's what I did. She had a vehicle, she had a place to stay, she had money, so you know what, that don't sound too bad. So that's what I ended up doing. And I thought I had this thing under wraps. She don't know what's going on. I can do what I want around her, and she don't even know. Nah, she knew. But one night, I get this bright idea. I'm going to write a bad check, and I'm going to cash it. And then I'm going to get some substances, and that's not important what it was. But needless to say, I got some dry goods and some alcohol, and I blacked out. And I wake up the next morning, and she's like, you got to get out. And I'm like, what do you mean I got to get out? She said, you can't stay here anymore. I said, what are you talking about? And she kicked me out, needless to say. And so I don't got nowhere to go. I got all my possessions at this time. I don't have my phone. I lost it sometime in this blackout. I don't have no money. I probably accused somebody of taking it, but the truth is I probably used it or lost it. Either or, it don't matter. It's gone. And what ends up happening is I try to go to this homeless shelter in East Rockingham, and this preacher's like, can you pass a drug test? I'm like, no. And he was like, well, you need to get help. And that really pissed me off. I thought, you telling me to get help, I need you to help me right now, and you're not. And you're supposed to be a man of God. That's what I was thinking in my head, but that was just that was just drunk thinking. And so what happens is, what needed to happen, I hit a sufficient bottom. I went to, I'm in East Rockingham, and that's like the worst part of Rockingham, I'd say. And it's dark, and it's about this time, actually, this time of year. And it's not really cold, like freezing, but it don't feel good. And I go to this little building, like the only place I know I can go up, because I don't have my phone. I'm not about to just show up at somebody's house, especially thinking they're going to tell me to leave or whatnot. So I go to this little building in East Rockingham, and I just remember it vividly. Like, it was so dark in there, and it was really cold, and I just felt so alone. Like, I don't even have my phone to talk to anybody. I don't have no light. There ain't no windows, and I just felt lonely. And I say that because the same way I felt that night, like physically, that's how I felt on the inside, like just like cold and dark and alone. And for some reason, I started thinking about what that preacher said, and he said I needed to get help. So when I was a kid, I did go to church, like, because I was supposed to, because I had to, but I'd never really grasped the whole relationship with God part. I believed that there was a God. I didn't believe that he was going to have anything to do with me. But for whatever reason, this night, I prayed to God. I said, God, help me. And I really meant it. Like, it wasn't a foxhole prayer. It wasn't like, God, if you get me out of this, I'll do this. It was just like, God, just help me. Whatever you want to do, just help me, and I'll do what I have to do. So I did pray that, and the next day I went back and talked to that preacher, and he was like, well, go to the hospital and try to get in detox. So I go to Richmond County Hospital. I figure I'm going to have one last hoorah, and I get pretty messed up and go to this hospital, and they sit me in there for like 12 hours, and then they tell me to go on my way, or they give me an appointment for Daymark. So I go to Daymark, and they're like, we can give you counseling. I'm like, nah, I believe I'm going to need more counseling. And they tell me, well, you can try to get in detox at more regional. So I get a ride up here, and I do that. And just for whatever reason, I might have been in the psych ward or detox with all these crazy people, but I really felt relief. I felt like everything's going to be all right. The madness is somewhat over. I don't know what I'm about to do, but I know I'm not out here on the streets trying to figure out how I'm going to get a drink, so it just felt kind of calm, even in that environment, it just felt like a relief. And I remember just being in there. I wasn't convinced I was an alcoholic at all. I just thought there's something wrong with me. I can't stop doing dry goods, and I also like to drink, but I'm not an alcoholic. But we got these people coming into the detox sharing their story. And they talk about, they shared their experience, strength, and hope. And I thought, man, that's amazing. Like, how did they do that? And they're talking about the 12 steps. And I'm like, well, that's great. That's probably not going to work for me. But it did give me a little bit of hope. And I stay in there for like 7 days. And then I get out and I come to this place called the Safe House. And I don't know, it's very intimidating. These people are talking about all this love and God stuff, and I'm like, I don't know about all this. Like, are you sure? Like, but really, like, all jokes aside, I just felt like these people genuinely cared about me. Like, they showed me love, and they didn't want anything in return. And they gained my trust just by telling me about themselves. And I don't know, like, I believe it was. I just remember sitting there with Zach and Seth, and it was just me, and they go around, they're like, I'm Seth, I'm an alcoholic, I'm Zach, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm like, I'm Chase, and I'm a drug addict, because I was different, so what they did was they shared their story with me, and I found out these people are just the same as me. Like, what I know today, it doesn't matter if it's a drink, a drug, a girl, a job, like anything that I can do to change the way I feel. Unless I replace it with God, like, I'm going to get as much of that as I can. And I'm always going to want more. But that's what recovery taught me. But so anyway, I'm there for like 2.5 weeks, and I'm just so scared because I don't know what's about to happen with life. I know these people got a solution, but I'm not sure if it'll work for me. Then I go to the colony, and it's like a foreign language. Like, they're telling me all these different things. They're telling me that I have a disease, and at some point they convinced me that I was an alcoholic because they broke out the book and talked about alcoholism is a hopeless state of mind and body. And I do no, 100%. I was there. I had both of those. And without this program, I still do. But so I'm at the colony, and they're talking about these steps. And I mean, I know a lot of people in here have been through the colony, so they know, like, we're going through step 1, and I'm writing down my life story. And it's like, I'm writing down my life story, and then there's these questions. It's like, have you ever been to jail? Yes. Were drugs or alcohol a part of it? Yes. Like, I don't know why I didn't realize this before. I just thought I had bad luck or something. And they just break down how powerless and unmanageable your life is. And that was kind of an eye-opener, because I knew that I was powerless. I knew I couldn't do one of anything. But I wasn't so sure that my life was unmanageable. I'm sure anyone else would have known that, but I didn't. And then they're talking about, then you just do these different things about step 2 and 3, about, so basically they taught me that there is a God, that He will help you, you just have to follow His will. And I had no clue what that meant. Like, when it said you had to give your life and your will to God, I thought it was something extreme, like I've got to, I don't know, become a monk or make a sacrifice of some sort, just like something crazy. But luckily it was a lot simpler than that. And so those steps, I could get on board with that. But then this 4th step, I got to write down all the harms that I've done to others, all these fears, all these resentments. They were like, be as fearless and thorough as you could be. So every time something would pop in my head, I'd go to either Robert or Barry and be like, should I write this down? And be like, if you think about it, write it down. And then I got done, and it was like 48 pages. And but they said, how free do you want to be? I want to be free. I don't have to worry about this anymore. I don't want to feel that pain anymore. That darkness, loneliness, and just sadness, I don't want to feel anymore. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And then I thought the 4th step couldn't get any, I didn't think it was going to get any harder than that. And then you guys tell me I've got to read it to somebody. and I meet this guy, great sponsor. I didn't think so at the time. He told me a lot of things I didn't want to hear, but they were the truth, so I needed to hear them. But I meet this guy named Clint, and he was just, I'm just like, man, I don't know about this guy. Like, Mark, get me somebody else. And I got to read my 5th step with this guy, and I'm just like, how in the world am I about to tell him all these things? But he shared some things that were on his, and it made me feel really comfortable. And it made me feel like I can tell this guy anything, and he's not going to judge me. He's not going to tell anybody. Like, if he tells somebody, we're going to have some issues. But I knew he wasn't going to do that because he told me those things. So I did that, and at that point, I just knew this AA thing was for real. Like, I have never in my life felt a feeling like I felt, just of a weight lifted off. Just great, just I really had that hope that everything is going to be all right. And it is, and it was. But so after that, I went through the steps again, or I went through the book, and I'm going through it, and I did another 5th step. Like, it don't take somebody like me to add some stuff to write on there, so I did another 5th step. I didn't really feel the same relief because I didn't have as much to put on there at that time, but I did. But then I had to do that 6th and 7th step, and I just remember sitting there and just reading this out of the book and just thinking, like, well, what if it don't work? Like, what if I'm the same person I am right now after I get done with the steps? And I talked to my sponsor about that, and he wants to tell me generic things like, well, just do AA, just trust the process. And that ain't really what I wanted to hear. I thought he had some secret knowledge that he was holding out on me. But that's what I did. I did just keep doing AA and trusted the process, and it did work out. It does. And a little time later, we start talking about amends, and there's some I really didn't want to do, but every time I do an amends, like, I feel great afterwards, and it's just like I'm cleaning up my past somewhat. I've done some pretty major amends, like, speaking of, like, the 5th step, or 4th step, like, my dad was on there quite a bit because I felt like I had a strong resentment because I felt like he was never a dad to me, but the truth is he's got the same disease that I have, and it's just untreated. But luckily, I was able to make an amends to him, and it was like a weight lifted off of me. And I believe nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Like, I had been through some things in recovery, and I didn't have to drink or drug over it. And I guess I'm skipping a little forward, but I remember making amends to my dad. Then being able to be a son for Father's Day. Just be there and give him something thoughtful, not just some generic Father's Day, something that I knew he'd like. And then my dad passed away not long after that, 4th of July last year. And I share all that just to share this. Like, had it not been for the amends and me clearing the air with my dad, I'm pretty sure like I would have drank and got high. So I do believe this program changes lives, and I mean it definitely changed mine. But I'm grateful for that. And let's see, keep on going down. I didn't know it, but I had been doing the 10th step for a while. Like at the colony you do it, at the safe house you do it, and that's all it is, But to me, I feel like that's a big part of my recovery. Like if I don't clear up these things at my nightly inventory, like I'm just going to have to write them down on another 4th step, and then they're just going to fester inside of me. So I'm just trying to go on with it. And see, the 11th step, I do feel like that's very important. Like the same things that you guys were taught, or that they talk about in the rooms, as far as like doing a gratitude list, hitting my knees and praying, doing all these readings, like all these different things. Like I've been doing them since the beginning, and they've proven effective, and today I still do them, because why change something that works? And this is my favorite step right here, the 12th step. Like to me, it's like I never thought someone who's been through the things that I have, that's done all the things that I have done, would be able to help anybody. Like I couldn't help myself. So to me, like that's where the real relief is at, being able to help others. Like to me, I send out these texts every morning. People might think they're corny. I don't care. It might help some people. But like I always try to put emphasis on the gift, the gift of the present. Like that's something I never knew about, because I was too busy worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, what happened yesterday. Like, and to me, like that's the biggest gift we have, the present. And, I don't know. I was just thinking about after I went through the steps, like I've got a new sponsor today. You guys, I guess everybody knows him. Like he's another one of those that they don't tell me what I always want to hear, but he always tells me the truth, and that's what I need. Because I might not currently be drinking or using drugs, but I know I'm still an alcoholic and an addict. And sometimes I have this disease in my brain that tries to justify things that it shouldn't. So I'm grateful that I have a sponsor that I can talk to. I don't know, as far as gifts of recovery, like, I don't know, I'd say probably the biggest gift I have is hope, because I was hopeless, and now I'm able to share that hope with someone else. And I mean, as far as material things, like, I've got all the things, like a car. Like, you wouldn't believe how many miles I put on my shoes, and now I have a car. That's kind of a big deal to me. And another crazy thing, I actually have the ability to drive someone else's car, a work vehicle. Like, what's the chances? I'd probably traded that out for something back in the day. But I don't know. I know that same place I was talking about, the safe house, like I get an opportunity to work there today, and that means the most to me. I've been talking to the guys here lately about when I'm working with someone else, when I'm helping someone else out, when I'm spending time with newcomers, like I'm not in my head thinking about myself, and that's the biggest relief. Another thing that's great is being able to see, I know the way they feel is the same way I felt, with not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing if it's going to work, none of that. And I mean, in a sense, I'm kind of grateful that I do get to see that every day, because I never want to go back to that. But I'm glad I can tell them it doesn't stay like that. I could ramble on and on, but I'm going to try not to. I know the whole one day at a time concept, I didn't understand at all when I came in here. I could get the part that I don't got to go the rest of my day, the rest of my life without drinking. All I got to worry is about today. And that's how I started. But now I feel like I don't have to worry about what's going on tomorrow. I mean, to an extent, but I don't have to worry about how events are going to play out anymore. I can just be right in today, and I'll be all right. I guess I'm running out. I got a few more minutes, but I ain't going to hold you guys up. I don't know if I could say anything to someone new in this. I would say keep coming back. Like, don't leave before the miracle happens. All those little generic slogans you hear in AA, like, they might sound generic, but they're true, or they wouldn't wouldn't keep on saying them. I don't know. I don't want to keep on rambling, so I think I'm just going to end it right there. Thanks for letting me speak.